it sounds fine to me, when I'm
Uh-huh.
listening to it. So it may like I don't know. I don't listen to it in the car. I don't listen to it outside. I really only listen to it while I'm doing it now.
Gotcha.
Because as much as I love hearing us talk, it's hard to listen to it like 5 times.
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun?
Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we are on a quest for Dynasty domination. How's it going over there, Daniel?
Doing great, dude. Clean bill of health this week. Everyone's back on their feet.
Good, good.
Um, but yeah, just relaxing, man. Just watching some film, just getting into the rookie juices, man. And what
Oh
about
yeah.
you, Christian? What's the haps?
Oh, it's good. We just a little spoiler for behind the scenes. We just worked on the seating for the bracket. I'm getting excited
Hey,
about that. I'm gonna put that out on social media soon, and actually restart our social media
yeah,
accounts and actually get on there for
for a
you guys.
pulse.
Yeah, yeah, we're not dead, I promise. But yeah, it's going good. I'm still just chugging along, trying to figure out which running backs I'm going to snipe in the second round. And we're going to
Yeah,
talk about some today, and I'm pretty excited.
yeah. I'm pretty excited too, actually. It's weird. I saw a little, Google's got my algorithm dialed in and I like read things while I'm driving. I'm a bad person mostly, but I saw one of their deals was talking about like there's not a running back in sleepers top 14 ADP. And I know
Yeah,
we've talked about that doing mocks, but it's like that's
there's
let's
no way.
just right, let's
There's
just
no way.
all take a moment. So I know we're each profiling one running back this week.
Hmm.
So I think there's a little bit more excitement to be had than currently at the average draft pick is letting on. So
I think so too. Yeah, I definitely think one of these guys is going the end of the first. It's making me contemplate either trading back from the 1-6 and getting one of these guys or like trading up from the 2-1 or something. But I mean, you kind of set it up perfectly. If you want to get into it, I can just take off with my guy talking in the running back room. I'm talking about Jonathon Brooks today, running back out of Texas. I used for cohesiveness, I started using the sports reference heights and weights like you do. That way we're
oh,
on the same page here.
we,
Oh, did we switch? Of course
yeah,
we
I'll be all
did.
right.
Maybe we should communicate that.
That's hilarious.
That is very, very funny. Well, okay, so Sports Reference has Jonathan Brooks 6 foot, 199. I think he looks bigger than that, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
1,100 yards on the ground, 10 touchdowns, another through the air, and about like a couple hundred yards through the air as well. Woo, he's fun. This was some fun tape to watch. Man, he's got a lethal combination of speed, burst, vision, and importantly here to me, decision making. This dude, once he decides that he's gonna hit the hole, that's it. Like that's what's happening. There is no hesitation. There's no wasted movement. He just banged through that hole. And it's really nice, man. He's quick to find that hole, and then, like I said, just one decisive cut, and he is gone. When he's really moving, it looks like he's just slicing through butter out there. Man, I was having a good time watching him today. He's not the biggest guy. I still, like I said, I do think he's over 200, so he's not the most powerful, but he's fast, man. He's got that burst as well. And he just, I don't know. He's really shifty. 63 forced missed tackles on 187 carries, which is pretty good. Like, he's in the top like 20 for forced missed tackles, but most of the guys around him have a lot more carries than he did. Um, I don't think he really needs to work on his receiving game. Like he didn't get a ton of work, but I feel like he was super efficient and natural back there every time he did get the ball. Um, he just has these subtle movements that do wonders for him, like just these quick little moves and like just these little hesitations that throw people off of where he's going, and he just kind of slips around people. Super smooth, super fluid. And I think he uses patience, but it's not like, when you describe patient runners and it's like you can usually see it, they're kind of usually waiting. He usually he uses it more of like an accent. Like he'll use it when he needs to, but he doesn't rely on patience ever to me. But like I have seen him just kind of like, okay, wait, 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 bang. But it's not like this thing that he always does. Like if there's a hole, he's gonna hit it. Like even if it's not the best hole in the world. And I think it's because he thinks he can get around everybody. And for the most part, he can. I don't know, man. I'm really high on this guy. I'm pretty excited to hear what you say about him.
Yeah, well, just so you're talking about like the patience and everything, it's almost like he's waiting to strike. You know
Mm,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like he's just I don't know. I put that I thought that he had very like really solid burst, vision,
Hmm.
and speed.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed at that he was like just the slippery running
Hmm.
approach that he has. And he's hard to take down. And the thing is, he's one of those guys that just makes it look easy. Like
Hmm.
you watch it and you're like, it it doesn't like blow you away, but then you just look at the constant success and just like the seamless execution. And he just made it look easy. I watched the Jayhawks game tape, and it was like the best game of his career. 218 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. And I was like, okay, well, I've seen enough Texas running backs slaughter us. Um, but that one makes me it makes me remember things a little bit. But yeah, he's awesome. I don't know. Is there any word on like he had in November? If there's he might like missed all of the offseason stuff. So I don't know. I still think he's like a locked in RB1 for this year. You just have to understand that it's a bit of a stash moment for him.
Hmm.
But like, dude, he was crushing it. The film was way too fun. And he wasn't one of those guys that didn't have like he had boom and bust games. Like every game was high octane for him.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, pretty pumped, honestly. Um, you hate to see it, Texas just going to keep on pumping guys out. But yeah, he was fun, and I was into him. So
Yeah.
I'm
No.
100% with you, man.
Yeah, no, it was an absolute blast watching his tape for sure. And you cut out a little bit, but basically you're talking about the ACL surgery that he had. Is that what?
Yeah, torn ACL in November there.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have to wait and see like that. But honestly, maybe that pushes his value in the Twitter sphere down a little bit, and you can snag him in the second round. And I think you got a piece here, man. Like right now, I think he's probably my RB1 of the guys that I've watched.
Mhm.
And like I just think he's really dynamic and electric, and I think a lot of offenses could use him. And I'll be really intrigued to see where he ends up landing.
Yeah, I think he was kind of underutilized, will be overlooked, just especially like the Bijan shadow and
Hmm.
everything that goes on with that whole situation. But I guess I'll get into my guy here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going with Bucky Irving.
Hmm.
Uh, and he's also smaller back. We got sports reference here's got him at 5'10, 190. So I was really ready to use the PFF numbers just because all my guys are skinny this week. So um, anyway, he was he's a pretty awesome guy. I really enjoyed watching Bucky go after it. Um, he and this is not like Jonathan Brooks, but in kind of the same style. As I don't think I've ever seen a player with such a seamless like mind body connection. Like his vision was elite, and
Hmm.
and it goes from like his eyes to his toes like lightning, and
Hmm.
he just stacks move after move, and I really loved watching the guy play. Like I said, he's smaller, but and I don't think he's like powerful is not the right word to describe him, but he's strong without a doubt. And it's evidence some of the nastiest stiff arms I've ever seen came off of his film. And he has this way of doing like a 3 point through like a tackle where he like
Hmm.
keeps himself up, just by like planting his arm, and then it gives them the ability to, continue making a play. So I'm pumped to see how he does at the combine, with that bench, that upper body strength looks like it's all the way there. And man, really, the way he moves is so impressive. It's like, I don't know, it's his like time warping ability that helped him net an outrageous like 69 missed
Yeah.
tackles force. And just his ability to stay on his feet and keep moving when wrapped up was incredible. He does it on most plays, some plays kind of there, here and there, but like especially in the red zone, he had like this next level ability to be like, you're not tackling me right now, sir. So I'm just gonna keep on going. Um, and I don't make a lot of weird references, but this guy reminded me of like Nightcrawler, who's just like teleporting through the defense out in space.
Okay.
It was crazy. And once he got clean, it was, he ran for the touchdown. I guess you could say that he only had 11 touchdowns. Um, and there was another running back on the team that had 11 touchdowns. And then you got Bo Nix who's running, 5 touchdowns or whatever. So it wasn't really like a touchdown machine, short yardage type guy. Um, but ultimately, he did end up with 1,180 rushing yards with the 6.3 average this year. And he had over 1,000 last year as well. The real nice thing is 56 catches. That's pretty impressive.
Hmm.
413 yards as a receiver, and that stacks on 2022 where he had 31 receptions. So I'm all for that. But I got to tell you, right, short yardage and goal line work, he was really sharing the workload. He's not like a do everything back. In
Hmm.
fact, Bo Nix had more touchdowns under, inside the 5 yard line than the running back Bucky Irving.
Hmm.
But you gotta still count that 7 of his 11 touchdowns were in the red zone. But like I was telling you about that Nightcrawler element of his game, the
Hmm.
other 4 touchdowns he had were outside the 40.
Oh,
Like
wow.
they were long, long. He had 0 touchdowns between the 20 and the 40. So whatever, man. So he's making some house calls. Ball security only had 1 fumble. That's pretty impressive. Pass catching, I highlighted it, with those his 56 catches. But he was the second most routes run by a running back with
Wow.
329, which is pretty outrageous. Really versatile in the passing game as well. But 35 slot snaps and 50 out wide. So he was really, designed as a catcher.
Hmm.
Not really all like screens or whatever. It was a lot of passing work to him, and he had 21 missed tackles forced as a receiver, which was fourth best amongst running backs. So it's really showing off. I will say he got stuff like short yardage, 1st and 10. He got stuffed. Kind of small guy wasn't making it happen, but there were a ton of 3rd and 2s where he went for like 10 yards, and he's just got lightning quick reflexes, and his moves are really fun. But he's one of those guys who will like run the wrong way or run backwards to try and create periodically, and it doesn't always go swimmingly. And just touching on like the red zone stuff, Bo Nix in 2022 had 15 touchdowns on the ground, whereas he only had 5 rushing touchdowns. So he might not be like, in fantasy, you love your pass catching backs, but when the guys that really help you out or when they're scoring on the ground and catching balls, and I don't know if he's got that ground game, red zone, uh, bell cow type touchdown
Hmm.
frame to him. But I do think he's a pretty cool player, very electric. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. He's his train his change of direction skills are insane. Like he just kind of like you're saying, he teleports around, he just stops going one way, starts going the other way so fast. Super slippery. Like I was praising Jonathon Brooks for having 63 forced missed tackles on 187 carries. Bucky Irving has 69 on 186. So, like he's really good and he's a super cool dual threat running back. But yeah, like what you're saying, three down viability is tough. Don't know if that's going to happen, especially if he comes in weighing a little even less than we have right here. Some of these guys that are dual threat in college who have elite receiving ability like Irving does kind of do get relegated to that receiving back role, which does hurt their fantasy viability. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. If he goes somewhere where there's already a bell cow, um, yeah, it's going to hurt him, at least early on. And then if he goes somewhere where it's more of a running back by committee right now, where there's not like a true number one, then I think you could get some pretty good seasons out of him because he is so electric. But I there's a fear that he gets relegated to that third down back role. But no, he's super fun to watch, super slippery. And you're right, like he gets stood up a lot, but he does run with a little bit of power still. Maybe not going to be trucking fools or anything, but if you're not careful, he can throw you off of him. Yeah, he's fun. He's fun to watch.
It's like
Go ahead.
he had a better gap grade than a zone grade. So like he does have that
Yeah,
up
he
the
can do
middle
it.
ability. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind
absolutely.
of crazy. But
Yeah, he can run through the tackles for sure. So I'll be really intrigued to see where he lands. He's a pretty landing spot dependent guy,
for
to
sure.
me. Um, So yeah, on that note, I don't want to end on quarterbacks. I'm not a huge quarterback fan. So let's get into some quarterbacks. We haven't done any. Yeah, I mean, obviously I like quarterbacks. I just think they're less interesting to talk about.
Straight
Um,
up.
so Caleb Williams. All right. Let's get into it. USC listed at 6'4", 205. 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions this year. It was 42 and 5 the year before. Um, he really can make all the throws, and he has a lot of different ways to throw the ball. Like he can has all these kind of angles that he uses. He really is kind of like what you want out of that new age quarterback, being able to move, being able to throw on the run, being able to throw kind of at weird angles to get around these defenders and still get the ball in there. And he really can like throw it wherever on the field. Now, I don't know, like I see it, I see all the traits, I see what everybody's hyped about. I don't know that he's as polished as like what people act like to me, like saying that he's like the next generational quarterback. I don't know, because like, yeah, he can make all these throws, but he also like misses them sometimes, and it's not like perfect all the time. And maybe I'm just looking for more, but when you're comparing him to Andrew Luck and Joe Burrow and stuff, like to me, those dudes were insane. And this guy's got a lot of traits that I think are really interesting and fit the NFL today and can help a team a lot. But I don't think that he's like signed, sealed, delivered right now is going to run out there and necessarily be the best guy on the field. I don't know that he handled, and I haven't watched every game of his. I'm not a quarterback guru. I'm fairly wrong, so take everything with a grain of salt. I don't know that he handles pressure super well, in my opinion. Like he can escape pressure. I don't mean it that way. Like he can escape. He's got decent escapability, good escapability, even great. And he can throw on the run decently well. He had a scramble drill play against Cal that was really incredible where he kind of ran around and scrambled and then hit somebody on the left side of the field. And that's like you can see it. But then against Notre Dame, he threw 3 picks and all of them were against pressure. Every single one of them was when he had somebody in his face and he was trying to fit the ball in. And like that's that gunslinger mentality that people have. You try to fit the ball in. One was he missed the tight end just slightly too high, but it was over the middle of the field, which you can't do that. So that got picked. And then two of them were just like him trying to force it straight into coverage, um, either believing in his arm, not. I think one was believing in his arm. One, I don't think he saw one of the guys. I don't know. It's hard to tell, but I can't see it. Like I don't know what it is about him that I'm not as in on him as everybody else. But like it's inarguable that he has these traits that you see that can be NFL like traits. I think it's odd that his rushing dropped off so much this year. He had 142 yards this year, while the 2 years before he had 382 and 442. I think he can run. He runs pretty well. People, I don't know. People always act are talking about him being like Patrick Mahomes or something. I feel like he's more like Josh Allen, maybe like more like a little less accurate and like can run. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about him, to be honest. Like I think I see everything that everybody sees, but apparently I don't see it the same way.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan last year. I didn't really like how that all went down with the Oklahoma USC
Mm,
and like money appears out of thin air, and then the way their season just like wrecked, and Utah just murdered them in 2022. I was like, this
mhm.
is perfect. I love it. And then for him to wins the Heisman or whatever, and then yeah, it kind of crashed and burned, man.
hmm
And I guess, yeah, I don't see the Mahomes thing. I see more like a Kyler type look to him,
Okay.
but
That's probably better than Josh
uh,
Allen. He's not as big as Josh Allen.
yeah, but it is what it is. I've been like, I don't know, I've told a million people that I like Drake May over him.
Hmm
Um,
I,
so
I like Jayden
it's
Daniels over him.
Oh shit. Well, I guess we'll get into that. But I just thought, I didn't think I'd be the guy propping Williams up here. So let me try to do what I can do with him. But I was like, dude, what a jittery guy.
Mm,
Like, what a jitterbug, dude. He's crazy. Half of his dropbacks were instant rollouts. And
mm,
the other ones were like the footwork was little like tap dancing half nonsense. Like he has no pocket presence whatsoever,
mm.
can't settle down.
That's
He
true. He's
moved too
always
quickly.
moving.
He was all over the place. And but he made like snappy throws in an instant. And it was
Hmm
like the that's why it's like Kyler, because he does have a deep ball on him that like doesn't quit
hmm
at all. And that like instant quick flick
Yeah.
is great, man. And I don't know. I'd say he he has to just like throw on the move. Like that's just his thing.
hmm
He's just always throwing on the move across the body, and I don't know. I thought it was pretty amazing that he could do that. I thought it was like super strange that that was the only thing he wanted to do.
hmm
At least in 2023. Then maybe the O line wasn't as good or something, and or whatever. It doesn't matter. Obviously, he didn't have any former Bolitnikoff winners running routes for him this year, like he had in previous years. So
Yeah.
um, that's cool. But the guy needs to calm down, like in a big way. And he really, please, Caleb, if you're listening, and I know you are, work on selling the play action better, because that was painful to watch. As like if he's gonna be doing it like that, no one was buying the play action I was seeing,
hmm
but that's all right. There's one more stat about him I'm gonna bring up, but I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna save it
Okay.
for after.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna put it in context. How about that?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So
Well, yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. I
Caleb,
mean,
I'm telling you,
it'll be really interesting. It seems like he's probably going to the Bears, which I mean,
poor decision if you
yeah,
ask me.
yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. And then if they don't fix that offensive line, it gave Field struggles. Like I could see them kind of just falling into the same exact hole that they're in now, where you see this like super athletic, electric guy that just can't get shit going consistently because everything falls apart. Now it looks like mocks have them taking him a big receiver in the draft to pair
Yeah,
with DJ Moore. So who knows? Who knows how it'll work out? But yeah, I'm intrigued. I mean, I think he's gonna go. I think I don't know. I think the guy we're gonna get into here soon in just a second has a higher ceiling, in my opinion.
well, enough said. We'll just get into Jayden Daniels,
Mm.
huh? Like this is a big reason I wanted to use the PFF weights, okay? Because they got him at like 210.
Damn.
Yeah,
Yeah, they got
but
him at 185 on Sports Reference.
yeah, so
Woof.
we'll just find out at the combine. Um, but yeah, I'm just gonna run through his stats because he's got he's got a really nice trophy case from 2023 season. His NFL passer rating was first amongst the all college. He had an 8.4% big time throw rate, which is is sixth, but that's impressive,
Hmm.
especially when it's paired with a 1.6% turnover worthy play rate, which is sixth best as well. So to have big plays without the turnover worthy, I mean, you're
Hmm.
really in the magic zone there.
Hmm.
There's 40 touchdowns for him with four interceptions, which is pretty impressive. He was fifth in college football and passing yards with 3,800. And that 40 number was second for touchdowns. So he had the second highest passer grade in the class, and he had the highest rushing grade of any quarterback in the class.
Hmm.
So kind of total package type situation here. He had over 1,100 rushing yards for 10 touchdowns with 47 missed tackles forced. That's second most amongst quarterbacks. That's pretty good.
Hmm.
Um, and I got to tell you, yeah, he had 41 runs over 10 yards. That's the most for a quarterback. That's just crazy.
That was wild.
And the thing, like this, it just keeps compounding. But to have, so he had over 1,100 yards. If PFF doesn't count sack yards against quarterbacks, so they put him at
Hmm.
like 1,250, but it's really closer to 1,140.
Yeah.
But with the PFF numbers, it's 57% of his yards came from scrambles,
Hmm.
55 scrambles. So he's really creating,
Yeah.
it's just part of his game to have that next level if a pass breaks down. So it's pretty impressive. Another level of badass. That's the intro to the body of my work here. He won the Heisman, yes, and he took a huge leap. I mentioned second in passer rating, first in or second in passer grade, first in rushing grade. Those are big jumps from 2022, where he was 37th and 11th. So that's pretty good for him to make that kind of a leap. We last week highlighted his two wide receivers that were making it happen with Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. Those guys definitely going to make anybody's life easier. I'd say they adjusted the ball really well, but he really put some really amazing touch on things. His deep ball it's amazing. It's timed very well, and it allows for wide receivers to catch in stride. In fact, over half of his touchdowns were on deep passes,
Hmm.
which I think is pretty impressive. 21 just between Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., not counting the rest of the team. So to pair that with his intermediate ball, which I thought he hit tight windows really well, just puts him really, I mean, I don't know, Heisman winner, really elite. Arm strength is amazing. I think he does his reads pretty well. There's a ton of plays where it's like one read and then run, like that's his progression. That's how you end up with 55, scrambles. They're not really scrambles. Um, but unlike other quarterbacks, and this is why I say they're not really scrambles, is he wasn't really ever uncomfortable. He wasn't really rushed. He never seemed
Hmm.
rushed. He was always poised, and it was almost like his first read was, one of his wideouts, and then his second read was almost like, what are the linebackers doing? Do I have a rushing lane? Like
Hmm.
he wasn't scrambling into chaos very often. He was prepared for what was downfield. And I like it. I like to see a quarterback that doesn't panic.
Hmm.
But he was able to progress through reads. He had a 2.91 time to throw, which is pretty long. That's much longer than most of college guys. So he was taking his time and not just running quickly, as we see a lot of running quarterbacks just tuck and run
Hmm.
quick. Um, but yeah, I'd say I don't know. I don't know. I just like the way that he was just poised. Like he had a good check down ability to him. He didn't play hero ball. Like Caleb
Hmm.
Williams is a like 1,000% hero ball every
Yeah.
snap. Doesn't matter what down, doesn't matter what situation. You hardly saw any kind of rushed bad mistakes, and it comes through and the turnover worthy plays. But he is a pocket passer all the way. Even with all that rushing, it doesn't matter. He's a solid pocket passer. His dropbacks are solid. His footwork is very structured, and his scrambling, he doesn't get outside of the pocket. He didn't really throw off platform. He didn't throw on the move, which is kind of disappointing. You want to see those elements in his game,
Hmm.
but it was almost like as soon as his footwork stopped, if he hadn't thrown the ball, it was a run. So
Hmm.
he's got to work on spicing that up a little bit.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I think he's physical with the run, and once he commits to it, it's pretty solid. His ball security was amazing. He only had 3 fumbles on 65 attempts, and 3 fumbles doesn't sound like a beautiful number, but there are only 13 quarterbacks with over 40 carries that had less than 3 fumbles um, out of 81 qualifying quarterbacks. So that's pretty impressive.
Hmm.
And the way I'm bringing this all up is, do you know who had the most? Caleb Williams had 16 fumbles,
Jeez.
16 fumbles,
Mm.
and it's not an anomaly. His rookie year, he had 11. His sophomore year, he had 6, and this last year, he had 16. So that's crazy, dude. That's way, way too many fumbles for my liking. Was that 33 fumbles in 3 years? Good job, Caleb. But going back to Jayden Daniels, I do worry that he might not be 200 pounds, and
Yeah.
he is also 23 years old.
Hmm.
And like I said, he can't do off-platform throws. He didn't demonstrate it much. So those are my
Yeah.
only concerns.
Yeah, I mean it's if he gets hurt, that's a big one. Obviously, if can he take does his game translate to the NFL? Can his body take doing this? Because you're right, he does run aggressive. He runs super aggressive. And he has a lot of confidence when he runs, and I think he's apt to get himself hurt if he keeps running that way. But like you're saying, those are the only kind of bad decisions I think he makes. Really, really smart passer, but not safe, I wouldn't say. Like, I think he's
No,
aggressive. Like, he attacks you if you give him the chance. It's just that he doesn't attack you stupidly. Like, he's not
right.
gonna just try to force things in, but if there's an inch open, he'll try to get it there. You know. So yeah, I like him a lot. And that's what I say. I think he has the higher ceiling, not in terms of like maybe NFL or whatever, but like fantasy. You're looking at a guy that can throw 40 touchdowns and have 1,000 yards on the ground, and like you're talking 50 total touchdowns. Like obviously we don't know that he can do that in the NFL, but yeah, I mean it's like the closest thing to like another Lamar Jackson, which we have seen in his MVP seasons what he's able to do for fantasy teams. So Jayden Daniels is similar in that vein. Not that they play similarly. I think Jayden Daniels is a way better passer than Lamar was coming out, but you know what I mean? Like that dual threat ability to be an elite passer, but also be an elite runner isn't seen that often. And if you can get that guy, it's why I was so in on Anthony Richardson last year. It's why I would be in on Jayden Daniels. I don't think I'm going to have the picks to be able to get him in any super flex leagues, but these guys can change a super flex team because they're like playing two positions. And he's done it now. I mean, this was an incredible year. He won the Heisman. It wasn't as good last year, but he was still very good last year. So I don't know, man. I like him, and I think him. I have him as my QB1, and then I think Drake May and Caleb Williams are right there for QB2, kind of going back and forth. But I think somebody's going to fall in love with him. I think he might go earlier than expected, which I don't know how he could. I think he might go number 2 overall. There's a connection with the Raiders. I don't know that the Raiders will spend that to go up that high, but he has this weird connection, not weird, but has a connection with Antonio Pierce. I think that could be interesting. Like, I think somebody's going to get a superstar in the making in the draft, and it's not going to be, I mean, it may be Caleb Williams as well, but I think it's going to be Jayden Daniels out the gate.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you there. I think him going to Washington would be really, really, really cool.
Could be interesting. Get Terry and Jahan Dotson in there and actually ramp that up. Yeah, that could be fun. All right. Moving on from the quarterbacks, though, getting into my last guy of the evening, going wide receiver, Lad McConkey out of Georgia. Uh, he did not have a lot of production on paper this season. 37 targets, 31 catches, 447 yards, and 5 touchdowns. But if you heard that right, I mean, it's not a lot, but it is elite production in terms of like how often he's getting the ball and what he's doing with it. I mean, 31 receptions for 5 touchdowns, that's a touchdown every 6 times you catch the ball. That's pretty impressive. Um, I like him a lot, man. Like, I think he could end up being an elite route runner. I really do. He absolutely murdered this corner
Fuck.
against Ole Miss. It looked like he was frozen in time for a second. He did this little stop and go move, but he stopped like mid stride and then like just took off, obliterated this dude. Has really good speed. I think sneaky speed. I know that's the the trope for white wide receivers is that they have sneaky speed, but I do. Like I didn't the first time I saw his speed come out when he caught one of these passes and took off, I was like, damn, he is outrunning all these guys. I don't know that he has like elite speed or anything, but he's got good speed. I think he has a smooth running style, but he can be very twitchy, especially when he catches the ball. Like as soon as he catches it, he like pops around like a I don't know, like a I don't know, some kind of just like it almost looks like an animal when it's getting ready to like pounce or play with you or whatever. It's like pop, just kind of a quick snap, and then he's ready to just like find where to move and where to go to get that extra yardage. I think he plays bigger than he looks as well. He's listed at 6 foot 185. I don't know that he's that big, but he can jump. He's got decent hops. He only had 2 drops last season, and he's only had 10 in his 3 seasons in college. Again, he's not getting a ton of targets, so that's skewed just a little bit. He's obviously not super physical or strong. He's a smaller guy. They kept him out of the end zone against Alabama in the SEC championship game on the 1 yard line. And it felt like most receivers probably would have gone in there. I mean, it didn't matter. They ended up winning the game. It is what it is. And it was still a big play. Put them on the 1 yard line. It was a good catch, but just something I noticed. He's never had elite production. His college highs are 762 yards and 7 touchdowns, which is just not, that's not incredible. So the ceiling is probably lower than a lot of the other receivers in this class, especially the first round receivers. But dude, I do think he's a player. I really do. And I think he could be sneaky kind of in that later first round of rookie drafts or like second round. I think an NFL team could really, really use him. I don't know, he's got skill set to be successful in the NFL. I don't know how much of a volume guy he's going to be, exactly like kind of the issue was in college in terms of production. But man, he's fun to watch, man. I don't know how much you got into this guy, or if you saw that old Miss play I'm talking about, but that was incredible.
Yeah, I saw that Ole Miss play, dude. And I saw the Missouri game too. I watched a ton because I'm gonna hit your trope. I'm gonna hit the big trope here. But I thought it was awesome, dude. Like
Hmm.
just it was crazy. I thought his route execution was next level.
Hmm.
Um, and his changes direction and general movements and cuts were very well done. And I thought that they were timed expertly.
Hmm.
Like he was just like a man of his craft
Hmm.
out there. And it cut through on film, man. And I know the volume was really low. You know, he didn't even, I don't think they could grade him. He didn't have enough sample size
Hmm.
on some of his stuff. But he seems like a no quit kind of guy who's going to step up and outwork the rest of the people in his skill position group, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean,
Hmm.
and gonna carve out a role for himself on the field. He could be the next Hunter Renfro, maybe a little more staying power,
Hmm.
or don't tell me there's a four-letter word with two P's in it out there that people are throwing around. But
I mean, I don't know, man.
You gotta do what you gotta do. It's very impressive. I thought he was pretty solid, man. I liked him a lot.
Yeah, like you're talking, maybe he doesn't have the traits that these other guys are gonna have, but like you hit the nail on the head, man. Like just a craftsman at a
Yeah,
top level in the route running. Like
he cares a
so
lot.
fun to watch. He's probably gonna be relegated to more of a slot role or whatever, or like whatever kind of offense. But man, like again, we've seen Cooper Cup destroy a fantasy season out of the slot. And I'm not saying that he's Cooper Cup, but like that's the technicality level that I think we're talking about, or at least like that's where he
It's
could
so polished.
potentially be, like if he's
But like
not there now.
you don't get to that
Hmm.
without, I mean, especially without the reps on the field. Like he's putting in the time off the
Somewhere.
field to,
Yeah.
because it's not like other guys out there. He's not relying
Surgical.
on,
Yeah.
right. It's pretty impressive. So I'm excited to see how he does drills and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I think he's got really good body control. So I think
Hmm.
he's gonna turn some heads at the combine.
I think
He's like way higher than I would have guessed on all of these,
the big
pre-combine
boards and
rankings.
stuff, yeah, he
Hmm.
he's like potential first rounder is what it's looking like, which would be crazy.
That's
I bet I
wild. I don't.
see it, man. Like I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Late into the first round, you never know. I think,
No, you
yeah,
don't.
I think he'll crush at the combine. I think like specifically the agility drills and
Yeah.
like the three cone and stuff. I think he's gonna feast on that. I'm
He
pretty excited
seems
about
like the kind of guy that's gonna do all the drills, you know? I'm so sorry, America.
All right. Well, on that note, do you want to wrap us up for the evening?
Yes. Yeah, I've got Rome Odunze, dude.
Hmm.
So yeah, this guy was a lot of fun to watch. I'll just get into it. Wow, they've got him at 6'3", 200 pounds on the sports reference. I think they gave him 215 on PFF. So another mystery size. One thing I'll say about Lad McConkey. I keep trying to pull an L in there, Lad McConkey, but that's not it. But he is 185 on both
Okay.
websites.
There we
So
go.
that's
Somebody knows something, actually.
apparently, but Rome could be anywhere from 2 to 215. And he's got a great size and
Hmm.
great physicality
Mm.
and great speed and great execution. And I really enjoyed watching him play.
Big time.
Um, I gotta say, yeah, 17.8 yards per catch, 15 and a half on the A dot. Really some pretty solid numbers there. He was used in interesting ways by Washington, including a lot of motion and a lot of like stopped short run after the catch type plays, which I did not really care for. It didn't really seem like it was as natural.
Mm.
Um, calling. So this is a little forced. So I think those stats, that A dot and the yards per catch, are kind of they're not really true illustrations of what he is as a ball player. But we'll get into that. So yeah, he mostly played out wide, it was like 80%. And he made his way to number one in receiving yards in college football by being a deep ball tactician.
Mm.
And the main trait that got him to the top was the catching. And I have to say it that he's got to have the best hands in the class. Insane.
Mm.
Which for a guy that only caught 65% of the balls thrown his way, it sounds kind of weird. But he only had three drops, right? And it was 140 targets. So three drops
Hmm.
is 3.2%. There are only five guys with over 100 targets with a lower drop rate than him. So he's doing pretty good. Um, but yeah, the way he pulled in catches was incredible. Delayed reach, you love to see that. The body control at the catch, really the timing, the concentration, the
Mm.
high point, jump ball. It was like it was like a clinic on catching the ball perfectly. But yeah, he is special when it comes to the catch point. He had 21 contested catches, which led college football. And sometimes we're like, oh yeah, but what's the volume versus the success? 75%
Mm.
contested catch rate, which is that's pretty solid, man. You know what I mean?
Oh
Not
yeah.
talking Luke
I mean, they call
McCaffrey
it a
style. We're
50-50
talking,
ball.
oh
So
yeah,
like
it ain't a 50
it's a
50 on
75-25 ball for this boy.
exactly, man. And yeah, he was just a volume beast. So on those 140 targets, he ended up with 1,639 yards and I think it's 13 touchdowns. Yeah, I have 14. It's 13 touchdowns. And his receiving grade was eighth overall. It's pretty good. Um, but he actually had a deep ball receiving grade of 99.9,
Woof.
which is pretty good.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, really incredible. The deep ball was the whole thing. He's not the king of separation necessarily, but he's got some fluidity through his routes. And my favorite trait is how aggressive he runs his routes.
Hmm.
He commits to the ball, as the catch point. We know about that, and he fights for yards as a runner. So it's kind of the total package. And he's got the size and can move well enough that having the technique and the presence puts him firmly as like a guy that I want to see where he lands
Hmm.
because he's not I really like him, but he doesn't strike me as like a locked in badass. Like something could go wrong with
Hmm.
him. So I want to see him somewhere that like out of the box utilizes his skill. I want to see a wide receiver needy offense with a quarterback that has deep ball skills. Like
Okay.
that's what I want to see. So yeah, I guess who knows? What if Chicago takes Caleb Williams and then at 9 or whatever they take, Rome Odunze and in that deep ball flick that Caleb's got, maybe he just finds a new home. But I mean, he had a great quarterback.
Mm.
Um, and Michael
Penix.
Penix.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is what it is. I think this guy could really be next level just because it's perfectly well rounded, just between the skills, the catch point, the size, and what he's already proven. To lead the college football in yards with that deep ball is special. So I like him.
Yeah. Oh, I like him a lot. I have him third in my wide receiver rankings now, behind Marvin Harrison and Malik
Neighbors,
Neighbors. Yeah.
yeah, that's a
But
solid place to
he,
have him.
he's not that far behind those guys, in my opinion. I think like obviously he doesn't profile as close to a wide receiver one right now as those guys do. I mean, obviously he led the league, but like in terms of yards per route run or whatever, he's a little lower than those guys. But man, like I think you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned concentration. That was my favorite trait of his was the ball location skills and the concentration. Like he always knew where the ball was. It seemed like never ever in question whether or not he knew where it was. He located it, figured out the best way to get to it, and just nothing around him seemed to matter. Like it didn't matter how many guys were in his face. It didn't matter what was going on. If he was jumping through the air, it didn't matter. He was locked onto that ball and he was bringing it down. And it was so fun to watch. And it's funny because a lot of the receivers last year were these smaller guys. Like we kept talking about how small of a class it was, and
Oh
there's
yeah,
not a few big guys, and there's a bunch of big guys in this class, and they all
yeah.
seem to use that size really well. And Rome's no is exactly in that camp. Like he's super physical. I think he's a maybe not the best blocker in the world, but another guy that like if he gets your hands on you, like you're not getting away type thing. He would throw people around and it was fun to watch. And yeah, his ability to just ignore contact with the ball in the air and just get it is next level. So I'm really into Rome Odunze. I've been mocking him a lot. I don't think I'm gonna get him. He keeps falling to me at like 6. I feel like that's not happening.
Just
Or
got to
at
get
least
more leagues, dude.
it shouldn't. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Well, I
6
do have
would
the
be
1-2
nuts.
in one league. So I don't know. Maybe
Oof,
depending on landing
oof.
spot. That's tough.
This is a weird first round. It's gonna be a weird top half of the first round.
It is going to be super weird and interesting with Brock Bowers got to go somewhere in there, and then somebody might get. There's two quarterbacks in this class that are getting everybody's all ruffled, so it's gonna be fun, man. And on that note, I'll go
Party
ahead
on.
and spoil it a little bit. We decided the tournament's going to be a little different this year for March Madness, and we're dividing it by basically regions of the United States. So we've got the Midwest Conference, the West Coast Conference, well, just West, really, not Coast. So Midwest, West, South, and then we're going with East Coast. And because there's so many teams in the South, um, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, because you touch the Atlantic coast or the Atlantic Ocean, you are going to be lumped into the East Coast. So I know that that's going to hurt a lot of Southern pride down there,
A lot of
wanting
it.
to be in the Southern Conference. And we acknowledge that geographically you are part of the South, but for us,
You're
in
all
terms of the
Atlantic.
graphic, you are on the East Coast. So sorry, enjoy your East Coast beach. So, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to see these different conferences kind of fight each other in different parts of the country, and then we'll have four representatives fighting for the RDR preseason rookie dynasty champion. So hopefully you will be joining us for that. We're now that we're gonna work on the seating, get it finalized, and then I'm gonna get the bracket put out, and you guys can fill it out. I'm gonna put it out on social media for you, and you can fill it all out, see who you think's gonna win, and it's gonna be a lot of fun this year. We're gonna get really into it. So please, please, please come back and join us for that. Um, but until then, we've
Hey,
been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
deuces.
I took a lease out